Sunday worship service. So I remember long time back, Pastor Sudipta had asked me, but that time I was busy and not in a position. I said like, give me some time, then definitely I'll share sometimes later. And then here comes the opportunity, and I'm so glad that I said I could say yes to it, and this is as Pastor Sudipta was saying. We know each other for a long time, and I have been personally blessed a lot by him. We have been doing the Tumi course, then the BE course. We are still doing it together, and after some days, again we have another BE course that we'll be doing together. And yeah, so when I was doing the Tumi course, it was such a joy to learn from Pastor Sudipta, Sister Swapna, and to see their passion um, in both, not only like I have seen their passion in the word and in action in both areas. So it is not only word or not only action, but in both areas I have seen their passion for the Lord. And I really praise God and thank God for TBL and the wonderful way they are serving the community, the old people, the children, and in various other ways that they are serving the community around us, the larger community that is outside. So yeah, today I want to take this time to encourage each and every one of us. So definitely, I'm not going to give a big lecture or a deep theological studies or a doctrinal thing. I'm not bringing anything of that sort to today evening, but I want to encourage all of us on some very practical grounds. And this is related to our community. When I say our community, means the body of Christ, the church, the body of believers. Right now, we are in a community. So this is a community that you all are meeting. And I'm sure like this is not the only online is not the only place that you meet. You meet often, you meet face to face, and maybe there are other occasions where you meet and you all worship God, and you study the word together. So this is a community. This is a community which has a identity, and that identity comes from from Jesus. The gospel is that source, the identity source that has created this community. Similarly, and many of you who are joining in this online worship service, you yourself maybe belong to some other churches. You belong to your own church, like you might be a member of a church for such a long time, and that's a community where you are also part of, and God has placed you in that community for a reason. We don't get involved in a community, in a believer community, accidentally. It doesn't happen in that way. Wherever we are serving, wherever we are connected, it is God's plan that He has placed us there. So it is not a man's desire. It is not a man's desire. Like, it is not that, ultimately we choose and we decide which community to be a part of, where to go, where to worship. Yes, we do make some sensible choices. We do make some choices based on what we understand. But ultimately, behind the scene, it is God who is working and who places us in community. Human being is the living organism that tends to live in community. You will not find any people who would like to stay in isolation, even for some time. Like people who are depressed or frustrated or going through some mental trauma, they say that leave me alone, I want to stay alone. But deep down, the desire in their heart is that they want a community. Even you bring few depressed people together, they'll have a topic to discuss. They will form a community of depressed people. So we have people like, we have community of engineers, we have community of doctors, we have community of players, So, and people, they relate well with each other in that community. And same goes that we have a community of believers, believers of Jesus Christ. Okay. So, as I'm talking about community, I will present five things which should be the goal of any believing community. You can call it a church, you can call it, maybe if you're part of your organization, a Christian organizations, and you can apply these five things there. You can apply the five things here in TBL, and because it is a community, where the TBL is, as a community, you all are, you have the goal of fulfilling the Great Commission. So wherever you are, you can apply this in your, you can be a pastor of a church, you can have your own church, you can be a senior leader of your own church, you have been in a church for such a long time. So there also these five things will be applicable. So let's see what are those five things that, you know, God has asked us to, I mean, strive towards for. So you can, we can consider these five things as our goal, or rather, it's not a goal. We can say it as a horizon. You know, we all understand what is an horizon. If you stand in front of a sea, you go to Digha or any seaside. When you stand in front of a sea, and you can see the horizon in front of you, and you know the place where the sea and the sky they meet. But that horizon is actually not a physical line. You know, it is not a physical line. Even if you move, let's say, 10 kilometers inside the sea, still you will see that horizon. Still you will find that, oh, the horizon is still in front of me. The more you move forward, the more you will see that it's a horizon. Rather, so when I say these five things as a horizon, means this is something that we keep on achieving till the end of our life, until Jesus Christ comes. It is not something that a community or a church can stand up and say that, hey, we have achieved these things. So that's why I tend to call it a horizon rather than calling it a goal. Okay. So, what are these five things that Christ wants any believing community to focus on, or that should be their horizon? So, so the first things, the five things are, it should be joy. You know, there should be joy, there should be grace, you know, joy, grace, truthfulness, humility, and mission. You can write it down if you have a notepad in front of you. So these five things, I'll repeat once again. It is joy, it is grace, it is truthfulness, humility, and mission. These five things should be the goal or the horizon of any Christian community. For every church, every organization, these five things should be their goal. Okay. So now I'll tell you what stops these five things. I'll tell you two things. What stops us in moving towards these five things, and what are those practices that we need to do so that it will help us to go towards these five things. Okay. What hinders us and what will help us to go towards these five things. I will spend more time on what will help us to go towards these five things, but I will also take some time to say what hinders us in order when we want to have these five things as our goal or a target or a horizon to go forward. So, what hinders is anything that is self centeredness. You know, if a community starts to think that, hey, it is all about people, it is all about a person, it is about a pastor, or if it is about a core team, if the core team gets too much of priority, if the pastor gets a too much of priority, or if the team starts to think in a way that, oh my god, we have to do we have to do things like this, otherwise, you know, this group of people will get upset, we have to please them, we have to satisfy them. So when anything and everything that we do which is centered around people, then it becomes a man-centered community. Okay, and when it becomes a man-centered community, it hinders us in going towards that horizon. We will never be able to achieve, or I mean, we will never be able to have the joy, the grace, the truthfulness, the humility, and the mission will not be in priority if a community becomes a self-centered community. Like, people starts to think that it is about me, or it is about the people, the group of people that we have, or it is about satisfying certain group of people, or if it is about, maybe some church may think that, oh, let us not tell that person because he is the most highest tithe payer in the church. If we tell that person to stop certain things, then that person will leave the church. Okay, let it be, let it be. I know, because he is the great, like he has a great influence in the society, and because of him, we are able to get this place to do church service. There can be many things we can say, and we can say that, okay, we are all for Christ, but in our practices, it becomes that we are becoming man centered. So what happened is that when we become man-centered, when we become very much people-centered, I mean, don't take me wrong. When I'm saying that people-centered means I mean, definitely there are missions and organizations, they work more with people. They are on the ground level, they work more with people. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, if a community, if God and gospel is not at the center of community, then definitely man or men or people will become at the center of community. And when it becomes people centered, when it becomes man centered, then we cannot go or move towards that horizon. And this horizons that I'm talking about, the five things, it should be a shared horizon. What do I mean by shared horizon? That means it should be the goal of every people in the community. It should not be the goal of only the pastor or the founder or the chairman, or maybe the team of elders or the deacons. No, it should be the goal of everyone in that community. That's why we say that it's a shared horizon or a shared goal. To be even, I mean, let us also say goal, like, if we want to understand it well. So anything which is self-centered will hinder us in going towards those shared horizon. But then what are those practices that will help us to go towards or achieve that shared horizon? Okay, let us see. First of all, if our goal is joy, if you really want to see that there is joy in your community, in the organizations that you are serving, in the church that you are serving, even if you are a member in that community, or even you can be an elder or a deacon or a pastor, or in any capacity, you can be a Sunday school teacher, wherever you are, if you want to see joy in your community, then there should be a practice of gratefulness. If you want to see joy, then there should be practice of gratefulness, thankfulness. Okay, how does it help? So if you really want to feel joy, like there are sometimes in the community we fail to acknowledge people. We fail to really be grateful for the small things that people do and help us. Okay, so when we stop becoming grateful to even the small contributions that people make, or the smallest thing, even there are some people in the community who works from background, you will never see their faces working, or maybe you will only see them sitting quietly on Sunday, but throughout the week they may have done some preparations or certain things which we may not be able to see. But those things matter when we build a practice of gratefulness, acknowledging each other's small endeavor, small contribution. And we really, from the bottom of our hearts, when we become grateful to them, then we can see the joy in the community. In the absence of gratefulness, you know what happens? People started feeling joyless. People will do their work, Pastor will serve in the from the pulpit, or the Sunday school teacher will keep on, laboring hard for the children. But if there is no gratefulness in the community, they will lose joy, and there will be a time will come when they will feel, oh, it's so burdensome. I'm just doing my duty. Yes, they do draw, they should draw their, you know, um, that joy from the Lord, but Lord has kept that person in the community so that they get those things from the community. If it is some acknowledgement, if it is a gratefulness, being grateful about small small things, even as a church or a community, even together, if you are grateful for that, small things. We sang this song, great is thy faithfulness. So can we think of, can the community create a space or a practice or a culture of even thanking God for the small small things that they do in their lives? So when we build a practice of gratefulness, you will see joy in the community. Again, as I said, this is called horizon. That means you cannot say that, hey, I have achieved the entire joy, so I am done. I have achieved, okay, joy, tick. No, it's not like that. We keep pressing so that we keep growing in joy. We keep doing, practicing gratefulness so that we see more and more of joy building up in our community. Okay, so number one, if we want to move towards the shared horizon of joy, then we need to build a shared practice of being grateful. Number two, if we want to go towards the shared horizon of humility, then we have to build a practice of service. We need to serve. You know, a Christian community is very different from a club. I do not know. You may be many of us, you may be here who are a member of some club. There are some, Lions Club and different other clubs in our city, and they have good services they provide. So we take membership of clubs, but a Christian community is not like a club. It is just the opposite. Okay, so I'll give you, there are two kinds of mentality you can see in a Christian community, in a church, or maybe in an organization. One is a consumer mentality, another one is a servant mentality. So which one we would like to build up? A consumer mentality is like, people will always think in that community, oh, where is my profit, not only in sense of monetary profit, but anything. Where is my profit? What is my लाभ? इसमें मेरा लाभ क्या है? আমার লাভ কি আছে এতে? So a consumer will always think in this mentality, where is my profit? What is my gain here? I am doing so much thing in this community. I am giving my entirety, all my effort. Where is my gain? A consumer mentality will think in that way, whereas a servant mentality will keep on thinking how I can serve others, how I can serve others, even if others are not acknowledging or recognizing me, how I can serve them. A consumer mentality is like, they will build relationship, but for the sake of their fulfillment. You know, they will look for people in the church. If the church is big, they will only look for people, and they will go and make friendship with only those people who are influential, who can help their child to get admitted in some school, or who can help in some financial way. They will only go and try to, you know be friend with those kind of people, and they will be very good in building relationship. They will, every throughout the week, they will stay in touch. They will ask, okay, how are you doing, brother? Everything. But what is the motive behind? Oh, I know this person is really helpful. He can help me. Yeah, I'm doing ministry. Like, this person can really be a great, a contributor or a donor for the ministry. I will. So it's a consumer mentality, rather than a servant will think that I will build relationship knowing that whom I can serve. Okay, I will build relationship, some strong relationship, knowing that that person is lonely, that person is isolated, like, there is some problem, doesn't, like, he feels like connected to the church. Let me build connection so that I can help that person. What is his need? I will try to help fulfill it. A consumer mentality person will always find a fault in the church or organization. Always they will do some discussions and alochana about, oh, this is not right, that is not right. What is happening? Things are not going on well, because that's a consumer mentality. Whereas a servant will always look for, where is God's grace working? Where is God working? Where I can see God's grace? The grace of the Lord is working here. Okay, even if, yes, this community is not perfect, but see how by the strength of God's grace we have come so far. We have been able, even if it is small things, we are able to do it because of God's grace. So a servant will think in that way. A consumer mentality will always, as I already said, will seek those people, who has things to give, not only money, I would say, but who can only give and they can only take. But whereas a servant, his lookout will be, what are the different gifts are there in this body? What are the variety of gifts that God has given or distributed among the people in the body? Let me identify it. Okay. And so these are some of the characteristics. So if we want to bring a community where humility is your goal, then start serving. The greatest example of humility is about Jesus. We read in Philippians chapter 2, the entire chapter is dedicated about the humility of Christ. And we know that Jesus himself has said that I have come not to be served, but to serve. And by saying that, he knelt down and, he washed the feet of the disciples, wiped them off and said that do likewise to each other. The disciples didn't understand at that point of time, but much later, when Holy Spirit came in and started living inside them, they started realizing it. What did Jesus meant when he said that? So, so we see the greatest example of humility. If Jesus is the greatest example of humility, then he served. He never had a consumer mentality. He always had a servant mentality. Number three, if truthfulness is your goal, is your shared horizon, then the practice should be speaking the truth in love. What did I say? If truthfulness is your goal, the shared goal, then the shared practice should be speaking the truth in love. Not only speaking the truth. That's why, you know, we don't read in the Bible, it is not only said, speak the truth. No, no, no. He said, like, speak the truth in love. So that means, so where do we apply this? So in a community, we come across many people who doesn't do as they are expected to do. There will be problem creators. There will be people who would mess up, who would do mistakes, knowingly or unknowingly. In a community, there will be troubles, there will be chaos, everything will be there. But if we want truthfulness, then we have to be vulnerable also. We have to be open and we have to tell them, hey brother, hey sister, this is the truth. And that communication has to be done with love. Okay. So only love and no truth communication will also damage. Only truth communication and no love will also do the damage. Okay. So anything that in a community, if we really want to, bring out certain things, if we understand that, okay, it's some, this person or this group of people, it's really, there is some problem is going on for a long time, but we sometimes we are unable to tell them or confront them, knowing and thinking that, or fearing that, oh, what will happen if they leave, or what will happen if they stop coming. And Because of that fear, we don't say anything, or we say so much that they get hurt and they leave. We will come to that as a fourth point, but this one third point is that oftentimes we don't say or we don't confront, thinking that, oh, that person will get hurt, or that person will leave the church or that community, or no more they will come to the fellowship, and we stop saying. But we have to speak the truth in love. Oftentimes in a community, in a church or a Christian community, we do image management. We have an image, every people has an image, and we try to manage that. Oh, no, 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 he has got an image. Let us also help to manage that image. So we do an image management, and we don't deal with the problem which is there underlying in the root. Even image management is an example of lie and false and hypocrisy. Wherever we try to manage certain things, it's an example of hypocrisy and lie. Okay, so if we really want to see truthfulness and openness and vulnerability in a community, then we have to learn to speak the truth in love. Next, number 4, if grace is that shared horizon where we are moving towards as a community, then the shared practice should be a practice of welcoming. Okay, if the shared horizon is grace, then we have to have a shared practice of welcoming. Now, what do I mean by welcoming? Let me explain. This welcoming doesn't mean that you stand at the door of the church and you welcome all people. No, I'm not talking about a physical welcoming. So this welcoming is, welcoming the mistakes of people who are difficult in the community. In the community, there can be people who are very proud. There can be people in the community who are very fearful, and that's why they don't come forward in anything else. And the proud people will always try to do everything. We'd always say, yes, I can do this. Arey, ye to mera baएं हाथ का खेल है. So there will be people who are either proud or they are very fearful. They would go, either they would be very, they would do mistakes or they would isolate themselves. Now, they need to be shown grace. But how? Then we need to also allow them the space to do mistakes. We need to show them that, hey, they are also welcome in the community. Now, just simply saying that, hey, I'm not saying that, hey, just you go and tell them, hey, brother, your mistakes are welcome in this community. No, no, not in that way. Otherwise, it will give a different picture, it will give a different meaning to them. No, but when we say that the practice of welcoming people with all their faults and flaws, it means that we actually help them to walk through the path of gospel. We don't leave them just like that. Oh, he's just an arrogant guy, just leave him. No, no, no. We help them so that that person is able to identify his own fault. An arrogant person should be helped in such a way that first thing that happens is that he identifies that he is arrogant. Otherwise, no matter whatever you will do, it will not help. And then help that person to walk in the path of the gospel and show that grace, what Christ has extended the grace to that person. You know, so what will happen? That person will know one day he will stand and say that, hey, I was welcomed with all my flaws and faults, and they showed grace, and that's why today I am standing here. I can see what damage might have done, or I could have done if I wouldn't have got you know this grace, and help me to walk in the path of the gospel. So for grace, we need to have a practice of welcoming people, and it is not a physical welcome that I'm talking about. And the final one is that if mission is the shared horizon, if the church or the organization or the community is existing for mission, for great commission, then the shared practice should be to include all people. Inclusivity should be the practice. Now, what do I mean by including all people? The community should be inclusive, not exclusive. It means that a church or a community, if I talk in the context of a local church, because I'm a pastor of a local church, you know, and any ministry that we have, it surrounds around, the local church and the ethos and the principles and the philosophies that we have drawn from the Bible. So, as a pastor of a local church, I believe a church should not be called exclusive only for this kind of people. They are welcome in my church. Some people, they said that, oh, our church is only a youth church. We focus only on the youth. So what happens is that if the church is built up only to focus on the youth, then let's say there is a neighbor person, like, there is a person who stays in the neighborhood and is a believer or a seeker or has come to in the faith newly and has just come to know that, oh, Navjivan North, there is a church in Shodhpur. I will go. I will start going there. And when that Mashima will come or that uncle will come to the church, and first they will find that all with only drums and beats and everything, only jumping, and all those worship songs are being played. Okay. So the Mashima starts coming to the church first Sunday, second Sunday, but she's not comfortable with all those things. And the pastor can see that everyone is jumping, only that Mashima is not jumping. And then one day Mashima comes and says that, Baba, I have a pacemaker in my heart. Can you please lower the volume? I cannot take it so loud. I really, I feel very unwell when such loud music takes place. And Baba, when you preach, you are so fast. Can you little bit slow down so that I can also understand? So that Mashima approaches that young pastor, youth pastor, and says, and then the youth pastor says, Mashima, our church is a youth church. Sorry, I cannot stop it. I cannot, adjust it. Then what will happen? From the next week, Mashima will not come only. Maybe Mashima will find that this is not my place. And the church becomes an exclusive, and it stops, or it is not moving towards the mission that God has called us. Yeah, I know there are cases like for us, our church worship service is open for all, but we do have youth platforms. We do have separate platforms to cater to the needs of the youth. But if I say that, hey, this is the main church service and this is only exclusive for this group or that group, or only the engineers and the rich people, they come and they feel comfortable, or it is only for the poor people. So what happens is that the church stops becoming inclusive, and the mission for which Christ has asked us to do, that gets hindered. So if mission is the shared horizon or the goal for every community, then there should be practice of including all sorts of people. A Sunday worship service should not make a person feel isolated, should not be designed in such a way that it is only comfortable for one group of people and not comfortable for another group. You can have a different platform for that. You can have a different ministry for that. But the church service, the worship service should be inclusive, should be designed so that it becomes inclusive for all kinds of people. So I have shared 5 things with you. I'll repeat it, these 5 things, the shared things. What are those shared things? There is joy, grace, truthfulness, humility, and mission. And in order to go towards this shared horizon, then the practices that we need is, gratefulness. Then we need to serve. We need to speak the truth in love. We need to be welcoming, and we need to be inclusive. So these 5 practices should be there. And what is the shared force or the power that makes us do this? It is Jesus and his cross. I would finish by reading this portion from the scripture. You'll find it in First John chapter 4, verse 10 to 14. So First John chapter 4, verse 10 to 14. I will read, and I will finish today my sermon by reading this. I will read it in Bengali because the Bengali verse is open in front of me. If you have your Bible in Hindi or English, you can open. But let me read. It says, ইহাতেই প্রেম আছে, আমরা যে ঈশ্বরকে প্রেম করিয়াছিলাম তাহা নয়, কিন্তু তিনি আমাদেরকে প্রেম করলেন এবং আপন পুত্রকে আমাদের পাপার্থ প্রায়শ্চিত্ত হবার জন্য প্রেরণ করলেন। প্রিয়তমেরা, ঈশ্বর যখন আমাদেরকে এমন প্রেম করেছেন, তখন আমরাও পরস্পরকে প্রেম করতে বাধ্য। ঈশ্বরকে কেহ দেখে নাই, কেহ কখনোই দেখে নাই। যদি আমরা পরস্পরকে প্রেম করি, তবে ঈশ্বর আমাদের মধ্যে থাকেন এবং তাহার প্রেম আমাদের মধ্যে সিদ্ধ হয়। ইহাতেই আমরা জানি যে আমরা তাহাতেই থাকি এবং তিনি আমাদের মধ্যে থাকেন, কারণ তিনি আপন আত্মা আমাদেরকে দান করিয়াছেন। আর আমরা দেখেছি ও সাক্ষ্য দিতেছি যে পিতা পুত্রকে জগতের ত্রাণকর্তা করিয়া প্রেরণ করিয়াছেন। Ultimately it talks about that God has first loved us, and that's why we ought to love each other, brothers. Okay, definitely, we love people outside. That's why we go and share the gospel, but we need to have more love inside the community, our own people, the brothers and sisters in faith. When Christ is talking about here, when John is writing this thing, when you say that আমাদের পরস্পর প্রেম করতে বাধ্য, it means the faith community. We are bound to love each other even if they are unlovable, even they are difficult. We are bound to love, and when love is at the center, then it becomes easy those five practices to do. Where there is love, you can easily be grateful to another person. When there is love, you can be welcoming, and you can say that, hey brother, you are welcome. I know you have difficulties, but I will help you to identify that. Where there is love, then you can speak the truth in love. Where there is love, then there is service. Only if you love someone, you can serve that person. And if you love all people, like all kinds of believers, then your mission or the church or the community will be inclusive. So when Jesus and his cross and the love of God that he has displayed us through Jesus becomes our strength, our power, that shared power, then we can move towards the shared horizon by doing those shared practices. May God bless you all. And once again, thank you for giving me this opportunity. I pray that, this word, this encouragement, this practical encouragement, you may go back and you think about it, meditate about it. And if there is anything that you think that you need to go back and do certain things in your community, or encourage someone, or talk with your pastor, if certain things are not working, talk with your pastor. Feel free, prayerfully go back and you can do that.